That is the question sitting quietly underneath every highlight reel, every standing ovation, every celebration coming out of the Dodgers dugout right now. Because on the surface, everything looks fine. The wins are coming. The offense is producing. Shohei Ohtani is doing things that remind you why the word generational was invented. And yet, if you listen carefully, if you pay attention to what the analysts are whispering when the cameras are not pointed directly at the scoreboard, there is a warning building underneath the noise. The starting pitching staff is not okay. And if Roki Sasaki is truly the pitcher the world is beginning to believe he is, then what is already a fragile situation is about to become something far more complicated than a simple rotation question. This is not a story about one bad start or one injured arm. This is a story about a team that has built its identity around being bulletproof, and is now being asked to win a division title, perhaps a World Series, while holding together a foundation that has real cracks running through it. But first, Shohei Ohtani. Because before we get to the warnings, we have to talk about the performance that is making all of this so fascinating to watch. There is a particular kind of silence that falls over a ballpark when Shohei Ohtani steps into the batter's box in a big moment. It is not the silence of uncertainty. It is the silence of anticipation, the collective holding of breath that happens when an entire stadium, including the people wearing the opposing team's colors, recognizes that they are about to witness something worth watching. That silence was present multiple times during the Dodgers' recent stretch of games. And what followed it, each time, was exactly what the Dodgers needed. 6 hits. Not across a week. Not spread across a series that stretched long enough to inflate numbers. 6 hits that came in a concentrated burst of production that reminded every commentator, every opposing manager, every pitcher studying their scouting reports late at night, Shohei Ohtani is not in decline. He is not tired. He is not the kind of player who fades when the schedule gets heavy and the competition gets serious. He is, if anything, the kind of player who gets sharper when the moments get bigger. This is what makes the Dodgers so difficult to dismiss even when things are going wrong around him. Think about what 6 hits means in the context of a player who approaches every at-bat as a problem to be solved. Ohtani does not guess at pitches. He does not chase patterns randomly. He studies, he calculates, and he executes, and when he is right, as he was during this stretch, the result is the kind of offensive outburst that changes the momentum of not just a game, but a series. The Dodgers swept. The wins are on the board. The standings show Los Angeles at 29-19, one game behind the San Diego Padres in the NL West, a gap that feels far smaller than it did just a few weeks ago. And yet, the warning is still there. When a television analyst uses the phrase verge of collapse during a broadcast, it lands differently than a beat reporter writing it in a column. It has an immediacy to it. A weight. Because the person saying it has just watched the same game you watched, and they are telling you that what you saw, even if it ended in a win, revealed something you might have missed if you were only watching the scoreboard. That is exactly what happened. The Dodgers have won games recently. The offense, led by Ohtani's extraordinary hitting, has been good enough to carry results in ways that mask what is happening behind the numbers. But mask it long enough and eventually the truth finds its way to the surface, and right now, the truth is that the Dodgers' starting rotation is operating on borrowed time. Consider the situation clearly. A starting pitcher's job is not simply to throw the ball hard or generate strikeouts. His job is to give the team length, to go deep into games, to protect the bullpen, to keep the deficit or the lead manageable so that when the offense does produce, there is something to work with. When starting pitchers cannot fulfill that function consistently, the pressure shifts to the bullpen. And when the bullpen carries that pressure night after night, it wears down. Arms get tired. Outings get shorter. And suddenly a team that was built to go deep into October is burning through relief pitchers in May. That is the scenario the commentators are looking at when they use the word collapse. It is not a prediction of immediate disaster. It is a warning about trajectory. About what happens if the starting rotation situation is not addressed, not patched, not hoped for, not survived through, but genuinely, structurally solved. And right now, the Dodgers do not appear to have that solution fully in place. Which is where Roki Sasaki enters the conversation. This sentence did not come from a Dodgers fan looking for reasons to be optimistic. It came from someone watching what Sasaki has been doing, in practice, in preparation, in the early stages of what is still a developing MLB career, and recognizing that the upside here is not modest. The upside, if everything goes right, is historic. Roki Sasaki arrived in Los Angeles carrying the weight of enormous expectation. He had been one of the most dominant pitchers in Japanese professional baseball, a pitcher whose splitter had been described as essentially unhittable at its best, whose fastball carried a combination of velocity and movement that scouts had struggled to properly quantify. The question was never whether Sasaki had the talent to be elite in Major League Baseball. The question was always timing. Development. Adjustment. How long would it take, and what would the path look like? What the analysts who watched his most recent work are saying, carefully, with the kind of measured language that people use when they do not want to overpromise, is that the path is shorter than expected. That the adjustment period, which for most international pitchers takes years, appears to be compressing in ways that are genuinely surprising. The splitter is still there. The command is improving. And the mental makeup, which those who have watched him describe as almost unnervingly calm for a young pitcher in a new country adjusting to a new league, suggests that when Sasaki is fully ready, he will not ease his way into dominance. He will arrive at it suddenly, and the results will be difficult to dispute. This is what the commentator meant. If Roki Sasaki becomes the pitcher that his talent suggests he can become, not a good MLB starter, not a reliable mid-rotation arm, but a genuine ace, then the Dodgers' starting rotation problem does not just get solved. It gets solved in a way that gives Los Angeles one of the most dangerous top-of-rotation combinations in baseball. Ohtani as a designated hitter and occasional pitcher on one side. Sasaki as an established ace on the other. For the rest of Major League Baseball, that is not a pleasant thing to contemplate. The NL West in late May 2026 is not the division anyone expected. The Padres are leading at 29-18, a record built on solid pitching and a lineup that has been more consistent than many predicted. The Dodgers are right behind them at 29-19, close enough that a single series swing can change everything. Below them, the Arizona Diamondbacks at 23-23 are hanging in the conversation but losing ground. The Giants and Rockies are out of it for now. What the standings tell you is that this is a two-team race. And in a two-team race, the details matter more than they do when you have a comfortable lead to fall back on. Every starting pitcher who gives up 4 runs in the third inning matters. Every bullpen arm used in the 5th inning of a game the starter couldn't finish matters. Every time Ohtani has to carry the offensive load because the pitching gave the other team a head start, that matters. The Dodgers are winning in spite of their rotation right now. Ohtani's 6-hit performance is the clearest example of that reality. He produced enough to sweep a series. The offense covered enough ground to make up for what the pitching could not provide. But that is not a sustainable model for a championship run. It is a model for surviving May. And surviving May is not the same thing as thriving in October. The decision facing the Dodgers organization right now is not about panic. Panic is the wrong frame entirely. This is a team with 29 wins, a generational talent in the lineup, and a potential future ace still developing in the rotation. Panic would be absurd. But urgency, that is appropriate. That is warranted. The question is whether Roki Sasaki accelerates his development fast enough to become the anchor that the rotation needs before the season reaches the point where the deficit is too large to make up. Development is not a switch that gets flipped. It is a gradual process with good days and setbacks, with nights where everything clicks and nights where the adjustment feels impossible. What the Dodgers need is for that process to trend consistently in the right direction, and for the rest of the rotation to hold together long enough to give him time. That is the balance. That is the tension that commentators are describing when they reach for words like verge of collapse. Not that everything is broken. That the margin is thinner than it looks from the outside. Shohei Ohtani, for his part, does not change based on any of this. He shows up. He prepares. He approaches each plate appearance with the same focused intelligence that has made him the most compelling player in baseball. His 6-hit performance was not a response to pressure or a statement to critics. It was simply the result of the kind of preparation that has been his standard since before anyone outside Japan knew his name. That is, ultimately, the most reassuring thing about the Dodgers situation. When the rotation struggles, when the bullpen is stretched, when the standings are tight and the questions are mounting, Shohei Ohtani is still there. Still hitting. Still making opposing pitchers rethink everything. The warning about the starting rotation is real. The analysts are not wrong. The cracks are visible to anyone paying close enough attention. But so is Roki Sasaki's ceiling. And so is what Shohei Ohtani is capable of on any given night. If Sasaki becomes what the scouts believe he can become, the warning being issued to the Dodgers right now will transform into a warning issued to everyone else. The whole of Major League Baseball will be in trouble. And that moment, if it comes, will not announce itself quietly.